Good afternoon, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Just a nice 15-minute close there above those sellers. Nice buying area from the 6940. Should we get that? The open. See price trying to push above these highs here. Good afternoon, Osho. Good to see you. Just going to give folks 30 seconds or so to sign on in, then we'll crack on. Yeah. Got a very busy time coming up now. It's going to be really interesting in markets. Let's get going, folks. So, just looking at earnings, we can't miss this. Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, all reporting on earnings after the close today. And then you've got Amazon and Apple tomorrow. Between those four, that represents around a quarter of the US equity market just by those five companies. So really important earnings. Now, Nvidia has risen with the news that the US may allow it to export modified Blackwell chips to China. That's just boosting sentiment strongly. And on top of that, we've got the expectations that the Magnificent Seven are expected to post third quarter profit growth of 14%, right, to need double the S&P 500 average. So AI momentum remains a big player. It's just boosting sentiment as we look through the markets. US equity futures higher, Europe higher, VIX relatively lower, FTSE 100 just really ripping forward. It's a great hammer reversal bar there in the FTSE. Good example of what a good hammer reversal looks like there. Higher highs, hammer reversal, great move. The risk narrative is on. You take a look at the dollar, it's pressure to the downside. That's helping lift a lot of the majors. Pound is just falling on the back of a bleak outlook for the UK and expectations of Bank of England interest rate cuts. Copper making fresh highs. I maintain my copper longs. Silver, again, that's a nice counter trend hammer reversal that we see there in silver, making a nice little bit of upside there on that weak dollar. Similarly with gold, trying to push above that 4,000 level, which is so crucial for buyers. So risk is positive. And the economic calendar is dominated by the Federal Reserve meeting at 6 o'clock, an hour earlier than usual due to the daylight saving times here in the UK. So 6 o'clock in the UK is the time of the Fed. Expectations fully priced for 25 basis point cut. Focus will be for the Fed will be, there's no summary of economic projections. The focus will be, what does the Fed think about the labor market? Now, we did have ADP jobs data just being announced as an estimate yesterday. I forgot to mention it, but it was positive 14,000. So watch, the last sort of estimate we've had on the private jobs data is strong. Now, the reason that's important is because if we take a look at the last private data from the US, it was negative. We just look at labor market, ADP employment change. See, it was a negative reading, right? Negative 32,000. The estimate is positive for, I know the Bureau of Labor Statistics on US shutdown, but nevertheless, they are releasing some estimates. And that is one. Hey, Nadjam. So, positive sentiment with big name earnings coming up after the close. Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Apple tomorrow. This is the calm before the storm. So, we're going to likely see some really strong moves later. Now, I know I'm harping on about this, but I want to show you a video at one stage why this is important. I'll get it up when we've got a bit of a quiet moment, if we get one. Otherwise, I'll share it to you next week. Okay, this is concerning me. Okay, we are making higher volume, higher prices on falling volume. This is not a healthy dynamic, right? There's a lack of conviction on this move. Nevertheless, we're still grinding higher, so trade what we see. But we've also just got to be aware. I think the next, the time that this can collapse will be around the Fed meeting or earnings. That's the kind of obvious time, catalyst. So just watch out for some sharp moves lower. So we have been warned. Price is moving up, but the volume is low. I don't think that's going to affect us today, he says, famous last words. But, initial balance. All right. Look at the initial balance, right? Yesterday, price eventually broke. There was 15-minute sellers trap there. I don't know if anyone got that. That was a great little move on the 15-minute chart. That was 15-minute buyers trapping sellers. That was the reversal. I took a long off that, but only to the VWAP yesterday. But you see how the initial balance, do you see how it broke and then held, right? And then launched off from there in the Asia session. See, again, we're having this initial balance. breaks, holds, off. Initial balance, breaks, holds, off. Initial balance, breaks, holds, off. Initial balance, breaks lower, holds, down. Right, so just keep your eye on the initial balance. And again, big buying area at that pivot point, 6892. TPO for the session, Globex open, we're up at the value area high. So conscious of that. Sentiment is positive, so we're looking to buy from the value area low. That would be an ideal area. For now, we've had some buyers trapped up there and just prices moved up and trying to grind down. But we'll have a look at that at the open. I'll show you what I'm thinking. Big surprise, the no-brainer trade for tonight would be euro dollar. If the Fed cut by 50 basis points, it's buy euro dollar. Then the only thing to watch is make sure Powell doesn't say something like, we've cut 50 basis points today because we want to front load interest rate cuts and get them over with more quickly. Otherwise, 50 basis points immediate euro dollar buy, and it should run up to the 1.200 if we get that. So that would be, let me see what I expect that to go to. Right, weekly chart, sidebar. If we get a 50 basis point cut, then look for a run up to the 1.1200. That's what I expect then. All right then, folks. Now, I'll just reflect. I think if it's a 50 basis point cut, because if you look at the Fed, right, they haven't really started their cutting interest rates. Whereas the latest German data for Europe has been pretty strong, Najam. And the ECB are done with cutting interest rates. So, you know, you've got that relative divergence between the two. And of course, we've got the big yield spread difference, right? And it's still pushing higher on that, the 10-year, right? So you can see here on the weekly, 10-year pushing higher, price moving there. For me, that's a bit of a divergence. Any dips, I'm expecting buyers. Yes, euro pound in a straight line. That was always the trade. On that, didn't get into it, but that was kind of a nice one. The difficulty with that euro pound trade was the timing. Because if you remember, well, you know, we've been looking for the Bank of England to start cutting interest rates, what, for like 2 years now? You know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, right, I'm just going to jump the squawk on, make sure that's all fired up. Yes, it is. So, 1 hourly chart. This is an area I was thinking of buying off. Do you see how those sellers, right, trapped, buyers, retracement, looking for a buy off the VWAP, right? So that's been and gone now. And now price is trying to go high, but we're up at the highs of the day. Big area, point of control was down below. Think about the last couple. Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? That's 2 years, I know. The thing to be watching is that we've hit this high a couple of times and we're getting a bit of a resistance up here. So it's a retracement back down to value area low, which wouldn't be unreasonable. Maybe that's standard deviation, something like that. Maybe some of these sort of sellers that got stuck down here, maybe even the 6928 looking for buyers. Last couple of sessions, I've been flat over the last couple of days now, and it's been painful. You know, Najam, you mentioned it yesterday. So I'm just noticing that the move seems to come in the second half of the session. So I'm just going to be conscious of that potential happening again today, right? Especially with the Fed meeting later. It could be a bit of a very quiet day and then a really busy second half of the week. So mantra today is don't give up, don't give away loads of money now. Okay, just wait until it's really obvious. So that's sort of what's in my mind. With that being said,
some commentary from Hegseth in the US via Yonhap, just noting that Hegseth dismisses reports on potential US defense line excluding South Korea and Taiwan as not accurate. He also says the US is not looking to create formal multilateral lines in Asia.
With that being said, what can we see? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. A swing that's tried to move up, and it's still to be decided where we go. But you can see buyers, yeah, I'll check it out in a minute, Najam. You see that buyers have just trapped sellers here against the VWAP. So any sharp drop down here on the 15-minute, I will look for buyers getting trapped, right? And then stops, probably got to run the stops quite tight, about 693, probably underneath that 6930 region. Okay, so if I can get down there, but I want to see sellers getting trapped against the VWAP. And also got to be careful that I don't, if those buyers get trapped, it's off, right? So I need to see, you know, a clear opportunity to go long. So you've got 1 minute, 11 seconds, and I'll be looking at the tick chart. I think that's I'll be looking for sellers getting trapped here. So ideally underneath this VWAP, and then going back long once they get trapped. So 5 minutes coming at 57 seconds. We're coming up to the open. On the hourly chart, you see you've got this the VWAP's holding. Sellers trapped, get underneath this level, then I'm looking for a potential buy from that 6927. Sentiment is positive. So probably 6927 is my preferred level to buy from, all the way down here. Get a nice tight stop under the 6919. So that's what I'm looking at. 15 minutes, 31 seconds. 1, 2, yeah, nice Najam. See, 3, 4, yeah, 4 touches. A breakout to the upside would be great above the R1. Love it, Najam. Very nice, good spot. Right, so if the 15-minute sellers trap those buyers, I'm not looking to buy anymore. They haven't, that's okay. So now just looking on the tick chart for ticks to get stuck underneath here, right? So there we go. Okay, we're now on the VWAP. Right, looking to actively go long if I can get back above the VWAP and back above those sellers. Okay, you can see some buyers trying to build in here. Another big chunk of buyers coming in, a couple of hundred. Yeah, right. Okay, here they come. A lot of buyers coming in on the drop. Now let's see if those buyers themselves get stuck. Okay, it's an important area. Okay, if I see those sellers trapped, I'll go long. Okay, I've gone long with those buyers trapping those sellers. Okay, let's see if we continue the way higher. I got some sellers trapping buyers up here. Okay, a lot of buyers come in. Here on the tick chart, you can see the buyers continue to come in. They've trapped those sellers. And now they're moving up to the tick chart, to the standard deviation. Okay. Okay, still holding this. Coming up to a 5 minute, let's see, 46 seconds. I want to see if we can get back above that standard deviation, that's the thing. I want to see if the buyers can trap those sellers, and that will give me a good indication of more upside. It's tricky, 21 seconds. Eleven seconds. Still holding. 22.50. Come on, right, okay. I'm going to give it half a chance to break out. Point of control's now moved.
A reminder, in 10 minutes time now, we'll be on the lookout for the Bank of Canada
Okay, I'm out.
decision. Are expecting the
Don't like the way it's sold off.
from Governor Macklem all at
Just
the same
don't like
time.
the way it hasn't been able to trap those sellers.
Decision, have a look
We've
at
been held by the
the
standard
NPR
deviation, so I'm waiting.
After. In terms of expectations, BOC is expected to cut rates to 2.25% from 2.5%. That's according to 23 out of 34 economists surveyed by Reuters. The remaining 11 expecting a hold. Do you know, at the previous meeting, the BOC did abandon its forward guidance, and Macklem stated the bank will be making its decision.
Nice one there, Jim.
Horizon than
Very
usual,
nice.
as it assesses incoming data. In terms of recent data, jobs report was strong on inflation. Inflation was hot, but the Consumer Outlook Survey warned of inflationary pressures, while views of the labour market deteriorated. Business Outlook Survey was subdued in its outlook, with firms expecting costs to increase due to tariffs, but inflation expectations have fallen off earlier peaks. Meanwhile, on trade, there has been a deterioration recently with the US after President Trump responded to an anti-tariff advert from Ontario, terminating all trade talks with Canada and also implementing a 10% tariff rate. Citi money markets bolstered trade cut bets. This meeting will also see the release of the NPR, and they may return to offering a baseline forecast. Also, be on the lookout for any updates to its estimate of the neutral rates and also the output gap too. In terms of the neutral rate, it's currently estimated between 2.25 and 3.25%. The current rate's just sitting below the midpoint of that.
Yeah, retest the bottom of that symmetrical triangle. Now trying to break out. Higher. Standard deviation, just capping it for now, just capping prices, tricky. Okay, held the standard deviation still. See, that's the danger with this, is that this just caps it. Well, I'm sort of remembering that the breakouts have come later in the day, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? On both days. So I'm very conscious of these levels holding. Of course, today the day doesn't hold, but that's what I've been looking for. Not going to rush anything today, that's for sure.